In this video, we're going to learn about solving one-step linear equations. So the goal here is to solve linear equations that only involve one step, and we'll be using inverse operations to do that. So the goal, like I said, is we're going to isolate the variable by itself, and to do that we will undo the operations. So when we say a linear equation, the question is, what is a linear equation? And that is just an equation where the highest power is 1. So something like 2x minus 3 equals 8. That's a linear equation. The highest power on the x is 1. We don't write it, but there's an understood 1 to be there. Something like 2x squared plus 5 equals 12. That's not a linear equation because the highest power is 2. So this is not an example of a linear equation. And then something like, let's say, 4 over the square root of x equals 7. Also not a linear equation. The power there is 1/2 because we're talking about a square root. So a linear equation, highest power is 1. So let's look at this first example. We have 4 plus x equals 8. Now our goal, and what you always want to think to yourself, is what are we trying to get by itself? So we're trying to get this x by itself. So why is x not by itself? That's the question you want to ask yourself. Why is x not the only thing over here on the left-hand side of the equation? And the answer is there's a 4. So the reason that x is not by itself is because of this 4. And this is a positive 4. We don't write the positive 4 out front, but it's understood to be there. So if I want to get rid of that 4, because I'm adding it to the left-hand side, I want to subtract it. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to be subtracting 4 from both sides. That'll give me an x on the left, and then 8 minus 4 is 4 on the right. So our solution is x equals 4. In this next example, we're looking at negative 10 equals x minus 7. So my thought here is, why is the variable not by itself? So why is x not the only thing on the right-hand side of this equation? And the reason it's not all by itself is because of this minus 7. So because I'm subtracting 7 from both sides, I want to do the inverse, which is adding 7. So I will add 7 to both sides. Negative 10 plus 7 gives me a negative 3. And then on the right-hand side, I'm just left with x. So my solution is x equals negative 3. Now we're going to look at 4x equals 20. So again, ask yourself, why is x not by itself on the left-hand side of this equation? And the reason it's not by itself is because of that 4. So 4 here is the problem. The relationship between 4 and x is that we're multiplying by 4. So the inverse of that is to divide by 4. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And that leaves me with just an x on the left-hand side, and then 20 divided by 4 is 5. So my solution here is x equals 5. Next, we're going to look at x over 5 equals minus 2. Just like we've been doing, ask yourself, why is x not alone? So what on the left-hand side is preventing x from being by itself? And the answer is this 5. The relationship between x and 5 is that we're dividing by 5. So the inverse of that would be multiplying both sides by 5. So I multiply both sides by 5. That'll leave me with just x on the left-hand side. And negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So my solution is x equals negative 10.